space, what are your thoughts on the possibility of this free trade agreement? And were it not to take the shape that investors on both sides would want, what can Maharashtra do at a state level in order to ensure that there is, really an opening up of the trade channel?
I'm really thankful for reposing their confidence in Maharashtra's potential and capabilities. And together we can certainly change the future, face of the future. India per se is the largest consumer base with growing spending capacities, and the world is looking for the best opportunities as a marketplace, that is India. And we have opened up our gates and look at UAE as a gateway to the world. So this is the best link between the world and India. And focusing on this aspect, I think our friends here can certainly strengthen our efforts for reaching out to our goal of becoming a $1 trillion economy, state of Maharashtra, and 5 trillion economy, government of India. So naturally, sitting and discussing these issues together will certainly take us forward. And I hope to continue this dialogue in the future also.
There's another unique facet to Maharashtra, sir, which is that along with the thrust on infrastructure, there has been incredible focus on environment. There is a new renewable energy policy. There is quite a bit that's been allocated in terms of achieving power projects within that. What is the potential that you see within the renewable energy space, and what kind of partnerships would you be keen on, or what kind of conversations would you be keen on opening up in that regard?
I can only say that belief is the strength, the trust, and together believing each other, the policies and the aims. I think together we have to strike out the best of the policies. Now we are understanding the sentiments of the people here, and we want to realize the dreams of our people there. So bringing these two sentiments together, I think this is the best way to go ahead. Now, this is not a work of one event or one expo. Continuity is the key, and we will continue this dialogue hereafter.
Mr. Algug, that seems to be the context, does it not? That you need to look into the future and not just the past. And in that, I think, especially post COP26 and the conversations there, green finance and looking at renewable is really the thrust of the conversation. What kind of potential do you see with a subcontinent like India and within that specific states? And what would you be most interested in? Technological know-how conversations or finance?
I would say, first of all, we would be governed by how much technology is created by all of those R&D development sectors, because once R&D, it changes the dynamics of all the infrastructure, all the, the discussions about environmental gimmicks or environmental technologies or environmental, projects. They all reshift the balance of what the benchmark should be. So being up to standard on what is the latest environmental trends is the key driving factor. And once that's defined, I think what's interesting for all general business discussions is to be part of the infrastructure creation. So investment vehicles where it brings in private sectors and brings in not only government initiatives, but smaller schemes that could be adopted for, the general community, and that brings in a lot of people into the same common goal. Because if you market that, whether it's wind, water, solar, those are all infrastructures which the private sector is quite keen on investing in, wherever you are in the world. So here being too very sunny, in other, you were talking about fog, which is also, there is a lot of, technology for creating environmental factors out of that. So there's a lot of opportunity. And this is the future. Whether we shy of it or not, you see one of the countries was, without mentioning names, I'm not going to create another controversy, but there was a country who moved to coal because they were so much against oil and gas, where they went now 5 years behind because they started using coal, because they stopped. They said we are so much against oil and gas, and you understand, you treat people on the road understand what I'm talking about. You don't want to reach to that point.
No, you don't. Mr. Mehta, there's an irony in the statement also where we're talking about renewable, but as statistics and trends stand, the oil and gas business is doing well, is on track to recovery at some point next year. How do you think a state should balance the two, the thrust that remains on old economy and the fact that things are in rapidly in the new economy, by which I mean the green economy?
Well, as they say, that it takes a village and to make a city, to make a state, to make a country. And it's all the small things that add up in the end to make a country successful. When Minister Nitin Gadkari had come here, he was speaking about Maharashtra, and he was saying that every small city of Maharashtra should be connected to a highway. And if there's a highway, and if there's a problem, every city is done very well, each city then will add to the state. And I think such is how dreams are made. And we have to start from the beginning. And I believe that this is a beginning, and as the Minister says, that we have to just watch out for this space. We have come here, we have made our announcements, we made our presence felt, and very soon these 20 and 50 and 100 MOUs will become a million MOUs, and that's how the whole thing will flourish. It's very exciting, and it's very, very encouraging what you say, and it's so very lucid, and it makes so much sense that very soon Maharashtra is going to be on the top of the industrial belt in India.
Mr. Kumar, just to do some blue sky thinking, if you had to project and see the financial potential of this, because at this point, even for the nation versus UAE, it's at the third position in terms of a partnership, but there's obviously far more potential in terms of investment. What do you think it could scale to, and what do you think that could mean for a state like Maharashtra in numbers?
I think in number terms, the objective should be really, especially after the comprehensive economic partnership, is in trade terms to reach the number one position, and I think that's a huge enabler. In terms of investments, the $75 billion is an indicative commitment. If there are viable projects, etc., in Maharashtra, I think that amount can increase even further. So the dialogue, as Abdullah has been saying, has to be at the G2G level, government to government level, at the business to business level, B2B level, and at the level at which the professionals and the management of industries and industrial, etc., will have to correspond with their. So the dialogue will have to be across different segments for this to succeed. Every other country is also jostling to trade with, because they're eyeing the same $1.5 trillion of investable surplus. So I think Maharashtra needs to give it a head start, and we're happy that the minister is here, and he's given us some reassurance also in terms of governance, management arrangements, etc. I think this will be music to the ears of the investors.
You're shying away from a figure though. It's $60 billion in terms of the country and UAE. If you had to project and look at what the potential might be, where do you think the figure might land?
$74 billion.
By
2050?
I'm going to check back with you, sir. Okay, I'm conscious of time, so let me maybe circle around for closing remarks before I invite the MITC CEO as well to make the keynote for the closing. Mr. Algorg, if I could start with you. The 2 or 3 must-dos or must-haves you think that this conversation should move on to after this panel discussion?
Communication, communication, communication.
That's 3. For you, sir.
I think this dialogue, I think picking up from the same communication aspect, this will have to be at least annual, if not, in terms of visits. And the visits have to be bilateral. So we'll be happy, the Indian Business and Professional Council, IBPC, will be happy to bring a delegation of investors from here. Look at the situation on the ground, that would move the needle really forward.
I think the way Israel and UAE have made a huge marriage. Similarly, India is an old partner to the UAE, and that should continue. Every 5th person here in this country is an Indian, and we are so welcome here. We've made our life here as well as our fortune. This city and this country has given us everything. I believe that it just has to echo exponentially, and I think that there's a good chance. Talking numerically, if we get 10% of that pie between UAE and India, it would be a huge thing.
That would be big indeed. Mr. Desai, final word with you. You are not just the interested party, but also the interesting party. What is it that you would want to see from the UAE to really bolster, communication, confidence, and investment, most importantly?
Yes, we both countries are very strong partners, and this partnership will grow. I assure these friends that we will keep ourselves focused on our progressive policies, updating our policies from time to time as our friends demand. In infrastructure development, we will certainly implement all these ideas and schemes on time. Our focus is now to Industry 4.0, including Internet of the Things, the cloud computing, the robotics, data centers, e-mobility, and so on. We are empowering our generation next with the knowledge sets, the skill sets that the industry demands and the future demands. And we have now opened up all the horizons for this new generation, giving them opportunities to be industry ready. And with these ambitious programs, I think we'll be able to satisfy our partners, our friends in the future. And I assure all of them that together we will see the prosperity together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's reassuring to know. Thank you to all my panelists for their candor and their insight really in terms of where the potential lies. Communication will be top of mind in the days ahead. A very warm round of applause please for all our panelists. May I also request the CEO of MITC to please come on stage, sir, and give the closing keynote.
It's indeed a great pleasure and honor to have attended the panel discussion in presence of our esteemed Sri Subhas Desai, Honorable Minister for Industries, Government of Maharashtra, and all our esteemed panelists. On behalf of Government of Maharashtra and also MIDC, I thank you for your presence today and for your valuable inputs. Really, I think it will take a long way to go. And Maharashtra, from the discussion, is equipped with all necessary tools required to meet this, I think, ambitious target. Right from infra, good ecosystem, and policy continuity, I think we are here to achieve it. So such discussions really give us an opportunity to reflect where we have reached and where we should reach. So with this, I would like to conclude this session and wish you all a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Thank you. A big thank you to my panelists as well for joining in the conversation.